Today, I'll be talking about a roadmap that you can use to start learning robotics and AI in 2023. And this roadmap is such that you could use it at different stages of your learning journey. So, overall, if you're an absolute beginner, of course, that would be suitable to you. But if you are, for example, trying to change fields or explore more and more different subdomains of AI, computer vision, NLP, machine learning, and so on. So this system should probably help you with that. So what are we going to talk about today? So first I'll tell a bit about myself, and then I'll talk about who is this session for, why do we need a roadmap. I'll talk about the learning framework which I have expanded and improved upon in the past several weeks, over the past year actually. So I was making incremental updates over time, and this is what I've come up with. And then I'll be sharing the most comprehensive roadmap, and I say that because no such roadmap already exists online, and I've taken into account all the different possibilities into consideration, like finding your niche, doing self-assessment such that you can find your own weaknesses, which programming skills you lack, and you can take up some prep courses for that. And also you can plan, you can create a weekly, monthly plan for the next year. And then I'll be taking a case study that deals with using this roadmap and how a hypothetical person who wants to start learning robotics and become a software engineer in that domain would use this roadmap and actually start working eventually using this system. So a little bit about me. So my name is Chandandeep Singh. I did my master's in robotic systems from RWTH Aachen in Germany, and after that I've worked for a bit in computer vision, and now I'm working as a robotics researcher. So my areas of interest are robotic manipulation, machine learning, and computer vision. And so the reason I'm sharing this is so that you can get a sense of where I'm coming from. So my background was that I did my bachelor's in manufacturing process and automation engineering from NSIT. And then after that, I worked as a mechanical design engineer. So in India, when I was there, my profile was primarily mechanical engineering. I was working with CATIA and mostly in the design domain. And then after that, I wanted to switch to robotics, and then I did my master's in robotic systems from Aachen. And while pursuing my master's, I got the opportunity to work in some industries, some positions as working student and internships, and also for my master's thesis. So there I got a lot of exposure to different kinds of projects that are going on. So my first project was with drones at one of the companies where I worked as a working student, and then I did my internship at one of the other robotics companies, and then I did some additional project work where I got exposure to task planning, so a different domain of AI. It has to do with scheduling and planning in an automated way. And then I did my master's thesis at another company, and then I worked for a computer vision engineer, and now currently I'm a robotics researcher. So how I learned robotics theory and ML, of course, for me it was a bit systematic, since I was in a systematic university program for my masters. I took up courses in the university, and I did assignments which gave me exposure to using the tools, and then I also took some additional courses to fill in some gaps. So primarily this course was very interdisciplinary, and I took up subjects ranging from control systems to robotic kinematics and dynamics, computer vision, machine learning, and eventually I focused more on machine learning and computer vision. But this was just one part of the picture. So the major learning for me was when I got the exposure to work in industries and as working student, internships, and also full-time positions. So I worked on these projects. So without going into too many details, I'll just say I worked on one smoke segmentation project, and then I worked with drones and creating a mapping of the environment, and then used deep learning for bin picking for one of the other startups, and then I used object detection and synthetic data set generation for deformable objects. And then for the project work that I mentioned, I used task planning for robotics. And then for my thesis, I did deep reinforcement learning for manipulation, and then computer vision, conventional computer vision, and also machine learning for optical inspection. And currently, I'm working in deep reinforcement learning for grasping and other applications, which is similar to my master's thesis. So this was my industrial experience. The reason why I shared my industrial experience is so that you know my background, and I'm basically making this roadmap based on my own experience. And as you saw, that I have experience in diverse set of domains in robotics, so different areas of that, and that is why I understand the broader picture, and I also know that one needs to have a specialization. And nowhere have I seen such a system that allows one to explore several domains in a project-based fashion, and also such that you identify things, identify your own specific interest, and then you gain mastery in that. So this is what I'll be focusing on, and I'm focusing on engineering students who have some background in engineering, whether you are doing your bachelor's in an engineering domain like mechanical, electronics, computer science, and so on, and working professionals who are also engineers but who all want to transition to robotics, CV or ML. So these are the three domains I'd be targeting. And you could learn robotics and build projects as hobbies, like we see the Arduino projects and the robotics kits and so on. But this is not what I'll be focusing on today. I'll be focusing on which are the specific skill sets that you would need if you actually want to work full time in the industry. So I'll be focusing on the very specific things that you should be focusing on, and of course you could use this framework to also build some side projects, but primarily the idea would be that you want to be employable based on these skills. So the idea would be the target audience would be people who want to become self-taught robotics CV or ML engineers. And why do we need a roadmap? I think we have an answer to this already. I talk about this in our previous meetups, and also in the videos that I've been making recently. So there's a huge amount of resources that we have all online, which is a good thing, but it is probably confusing. And I was there when I was already working as an engineer in India, and I wanted to start learning robotics on my own. I didn't know where to start, and I was just trying out different things, but there was no clear direction. So this is something that I can help beginners with right now, which is what I'm trying to do. There's no personalized solution, and I think this is a universal problem. Even the best universities won't take into account a personalized system, a personalized curriculum. And eventually everyone has to find their own direction. But the system that I will be sharing today, it will hopefully help you identify your own niche in a very systematic way, without causing a lot of confusion and without trying out random projects and ideas. And another thing would be there's no support system. If you want to be a self-taught engineer, you want the support of people when you get stuck while debugging for a project that you start on your own. So all of these are the reasons why we actually need a system or a roadmap. And first I'll talk about the learning framework, which I have expanded over time, as I mentioned, and I'm excited to share this today. I'm also looking for your feedback, and I think at the end of this session we can discuss, we can talk about your views, and if you have any suggestions for improvements. So the learning framework is absolutely for beginners. So anyone with no knowledge about any of the fields of robotics or AI can just start using this framework. It would be personalized, and it would consist of different phases, because I think learning must be done in different phases based on the goals that you set for yourself. So this is this is the T framework that we talk about. So generally, when we talk about robotics, or actually any field, any engineering field, or any field in general that you want to learn and gain mastery in, you want to have a broad understanding of different domains in that field, but you also want to gain deep expertise in one area. So this is what is at the core of this framework. So the top portion that you see is exploring and having a broad understanding of different domains, and this bottom portion is basically deep expertise that you would have in your niche. And the way that you get to understand different domains is, first of all, as an absolute beginner, you should be driven by your intrinsic motivation and intrinsic curiosity. What are the things that you find really interesting? What kind of projects interest you? And focusing on those things. And then also focusing on different kinds of subdomains which you might not be interested in, but you would still want to explore to get a foundational understanding. So this is exploration stage, and this is the mastery stage, where you would once you have identified your niche, you would be focusing specifically on that, and then only then would you be capable of working in as a professional in the industry. So as I mentioned, there are three phases of learning. So the first one is curiosity driven exploration. So there will be activities that I would share throughout this presentation that would allow you to explore your uh, interests and focus on what you find interesting. And then I'll be talking about domain driven exploration, which would be featuring different domains based on your interest, that would allow you to explore the different areas that are in robotics and also artificial intelligence. And after that, you should have a niche. Basically, we'll have activities where you can define your niche, and then you'd be able to get mastery in a progressively increasing manner, which means that you'd be taking up projects of progressively increasing difficulty. And all of these phases are project based. So the entire framework is project based at the core, and it's totally different from the conventional way of learning, where we have lectures or theoretical discussions and then projects. So this is the main idea behind it. So let's talk about curiosity based learning. So before I do that, let's pause a bit, and if you have any questions, because this is going to be a long session, so it would probably take 1 hour, 1.5 hour or something. So if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me also in the beginning. So far, does it make sense? I haven't covered anything in much detail yet. Okay.
Hey, am I audible?
Hi, yeah, you're audible.
Hey, so I'm a student in India. I'm currently in 11th standard. Okay. I'm currently learning web development. Okay, because I'm interested in that field and want to start my tech career in that field only. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much interested in robotics and artificial intelligence too. So I wanted to know that, like, I don't want to go seriously into the industry of robotics, but rather make my own good, like, side projects and with web development.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yeah,
so
so basically your question is specifically related to whether you want, so you want to explore robotics and do some side projects and so on. So I think
yeah.
the framework that I will be sharing would allow you to also take up different projects just for your interest, and explore and see if this is for you, or if you want to focus on web development. So that should not be a problem. We can take up your question in more detail after the session. But so far, if you have any questions related to the presentation, you can ask.
Yeah, no, so, everything's fine till
Okay,
now.
okay. Yeah, so I'll continue with the presentation. So, and then we can, of course, discuss at the end in more detail. Okay, so we talked about the we talked about the three phases of learning that you would require to focus on as a beginner. And then the first phase is curiosity driven learning, where you do an activity. So I'd be sharing a little bit about the activity as well today, and I've talked about in one of the videos. So you'd be doing an activity, a very simple activity, and at the end of the activity you'd be able to list three projects driven by your own personal curiosity and arranged in an ascending order of difficulty. So the project number one would be the easiest project, project 2 slightly difficult, and project number 3 would be the hardest out of the 3. But all of these projects would be relatively easy compared to the projects that I'll be talking about later. And the main idea is that these projects would be defined entirely by you without having any reference online, just based on your own interests as per your limited knowledge at this point. So this is the initial phase. I think one should start with learning any field first of all by their sheer intrinsic curiosity, because otherwise you would lose interest at the end of it. And of course you would also require to explore domains that you might not be totally interested in, and those are important. But if you start with things that you are interested about, projects that you care about, you are more likely to stick with the process. So these are 3 projects that you would start with. And then after that is the domain driven exploration approach. And then this is again driven by an activity which would expose you to several different subdomains in both robotics and AI. And at the end of this activity you'd be able to select projects in the increasing order of difficulty in each of the different domains. So you would have sort of lists in several domains, and you would be able to select first of all 3 specific domains that are most interesting to you, and then you would be made available a list of projects that you would be doing. So you would start with, so in this phase basically you would take up the easiest project in each of the domains. So because the idea is you want to explore and get a sense of different domains which you don't know about yet, or which you know about but you want to explore a bit more. So this is domain driven exploration. And after domain driven exploration, basically once you try out the 3 easy projects in each of the domains, you would choose one specific domain that is most interesting to you. And you would be able to do that because you already did some projects that would be similar to what you would do in the industry, but on a smaller scale. So you'd start with these projects, and then you would take up more projects in one specific domain. And the reason why we are taking 4 projects is because you want to take up more projects in your area of expertise. And the reason for taking the previous projects basically here in domain driven exploration and curiosity driven exploration, so that you can get an overall sense of different fields and projects. So by the end of this framework you would have 10 projects overall. So by the end of 2023 I'll also share a weekly and monthly plan on how you can systematize this. And but ideally it is very much possible that as a total beginner you'd be able to have 10 projects in your portfolio, 3 projects that are curiosity driven, 3 projects that are domain driven, and 4 projects of your own niche that would allow you to gain expertise such that you can then apply for jobs. So this is very much in alignment with the T system that I talked about. And now let's talk about the roadmap. So the roadmap will be very much personalized. It would be project based, goal oriented, and actionable. And I'll first talk about the different modules of the roadmap. So there are different phases of it. So the first is mindset cultivation, because as an absolute beginner maybe you have some limiting beliefs or some false ideas about robotics, or maybe you're not very much familiar. So you have the right expectations on what to expect when you're learning robotics and AI, and you start with the right reasons and with the right mindset, and you are also aware of the effort that it would be required. And so that you can decide for yourself whether it's worth it for you or not. And after that, we would be spending a few weeks or a month setting the foundation. So this would be, if you have zero programming experience, maybe you would spend some time building some basic programming foundation, just enough so that you can then start doing projects. Or you can learn Git or other software tools, software testing, and so on. Mathematics foundation. So any lack of mathematics knowledge that you have, you'd be spending some time doing that. And after that, as I said, you'll just start with the projects, and that those would be driven by your own curiosity. And then after that, you would be exploring several domains and doing projects in that. So 3 projects here, 3 projects here. And then you'd spend some time actually identifying your niche. There would be activities for that. And then you'd build the project. You would take up 4 more projects in the domain that you identified as your niche. And the projects would be of progressively increasing difficulty. The idea would be that this is your domain that you want to gain mastery in and want to work in the industry, and also continuously improve yourself on that. Then you'd build your portfolio, apply for jobs, and then continue your learning even after applying for jobs, because robotics and AI are both fields that are progressing at a very fast pace, so you have to be continuously learning. So this is also something to keep in mind. So let's talk about mindset cultivation. So here I'll not be talking too much in detail about the activities, because that would take up several hours, but I'll be talking about in specific what are the areas that you can focus on for 2023. And the mindset cultivation activity would be probably just for the initial few weeks, and then after that we'll just get started with the technical stuff. So first is to identify your why, and I've made some recent videos where I talked about the importance of identifying your why and gaining real clarity as to why you really want to learn these fields, your core reasons, and making sure that you start learning for the right reasons. And these would be based on self-assessment activities. So you would be doing the activity by yourself. It's not like somebody will tell you, some MOOC will tell you the reason why you should learn this is because there are this and this job opportunities and you would be earning this much and so on. You would be doing the activity by yourself, and you would be asking yourself questions to identify these things. And I think this is extremely important as a starting activity, because maybe you realize this is not for you, and then you could focus on other things like maybe web development or other domains, which is absolutely fine. But it is important to make sure that you understand what you will be focusing on, because you'd probably be learning and learning different things throughout your career. So that is extremely important to focus on. And one sample of this activity is that you would take a sheet of paper and write on top of it why I want to learn robotics and AI. And of course, I've written robotics and AI as a vague term here, because the idea is initially you don't know which specific field in robotics or AI you want to learn in. You want to learn basically. So then you would free journal for 60 minutes or even 2 hours. Take as much time as you need. This is just something that you would do for once, and then you would jot down anything that comes to your mind related to the topic that you wrote on the top, why I want to learn robotics and AI. And you would collect all the points without any judgment. Anything silly that comes into your mind, you would just collect those thoughts. And then after that is when you would be evaluating that. You would be scanning through the text and find your top 3 core reasons. Now, all of this might sound a bit vague, but at the end of this session, I also have a little case study where I've taken a hypothetical person who's an absolute beginner, and I have tried to cover all the different aspects of this roadmap that the person might use to solve the different modules of the roadmap, basically. And then the module is about addressing limiting beliefs. So as with learning anything new, whether you're learning a new sport or new programming language or a new language, in fact anything, there are some limiting beliefs, that you might think, hey, this is not for me, or it's too complicated, I'm not built for this. So it makes sense that you spend a few days at least just addressing it and getting rid of the limiting beliefs and just start with the right mindset. So we are still in the mindset stage here. So you might have limiting beliefs about robotics in general, because when people think about robotics, it looks so cool and interesting, but at the same time you might think, hey, this is too complicated, I can never do that. And so you make sure you address all of these things. And about programming, another thing is, yeah, I cannot do programming is hard. And about being self-taught, that it's not really possible to become self-taught, and that I need a master's or a specific set of courses. You can become self-taught, and the reason why I can confidently say that is because even though I had a systematic master's program, a majority of my journey was based on the experiences that I got by taking part in projects in the industry. So that is extremely important to take care of in the very initial stages itself, because you'd probably not be dealing with it later in any case. And then you should define your learning goals. Which phase are you? Are you exploring just several areas of software in general? Are you exploring blockchain? Are you exploring Web3, web development, robotics, or are you exploring specifically in robotics? Or do you have some level of clarity that I want to work in machine learning, but I want to explore and understand what specifically I want to do in that? Or is it everything totally clear to you and you want to focus on gaining mastery? And based on your goals, the roadmap, the 2023 plan might look different. And that is the whole idea behind it, that you can make a personalized curriculum, personalized plan for yourself without the assistance of anybody. And of course, the whole process is such that since you want to learn these things on your own, you might get stuck. You would definitely get stuck at different stages of it, while choosing projects, which projects to focus on, while doing certain activities, while brainstorming ideas for the projects, while debugging, particularly while debugging. And that is why finding an accountability partner or a group of people who have similar goals as you would go a long way. And this is the exact reason why universities do so well, because there are all the students have more or less similar goals as you. So they keep you accountable. You have exams, you have lectures scheduled that you would want to attend, that you would have to attend, and so on. But if you want to be a self-taught engineer, robotic software engineer, CV, ML engineer, then you have to make sure that you take this into consideration. And it is very easy to find accountability partners, because we have this Discord server. You can find people on LinkedIn, you can find people on Reddit forums, you can find people on Facebook groups. So there's just a lot of possibilities. And in today's day and age, if you're not able to learn things on your own, then you need to be more disciplined and just stick with the plans, because it is very much possible if you have the right system. So setting the foundation is the next stage, as I mentioned. So you'll be doing some self-assessment, taking up some surveys, some small tests to identify how good your engineering skills are, mathematics, technical skills with regards to robotics or machine learning, software tools. And then you would take up some basic foundational courses, and this would be just maybe 3 weeks or something. And then you'd just fill in the gaps. And I want to mention that even if you don't have any engineering background, you could still fill in the gaps with basic mathematics, calculus, linear algebra, and so on, and some programming. It's not too hard to fill in the gaps, because then the main learning would be when you take up projects. And for that you would be spending several weeks. So, and you have to remember that you're dedicating the whole of 2023 for your learning. So it is very much possible to do it as a non-engineer as well. But you have to fill in the gaps in foundation by taking up some courses, some projects, or some way of learning in general. Then you would spend time learning the tools, you would set up your system, you would learn Git, you would learn some basic tools like ROS, OpenCV, just to familiarize yourself with, not in too much detail. You'd maybe learn some software testing, agile development, Scrum framework if needed. And after that, you can just start with focusing on your curious exploration. And basically the activities are more complicated to design, and then I have not shared the activities in too much detail, similar to the one activity that I talked about, leveraging your curiosity here. But the idea is that there will be activities that you can do to ask questions such that you would be able to find fields and projects that are of your interest. And these could be as simple as, what are the areas that I'm interested in, what are the problems that I'm currently facing, what are the projects that I'm doing currently that I could automate. And these could be general programming related, or maybe it could be more robotics related or machine learning related. There are several ideas that you could have, and the idea would be to leverage your curiosity first and foremost. And then after that, and this is very critical, that you identify the skill set that would be needed for you to work in the industry, because you could come up with some some projects out of your own curiosity that you of course find interesting, and you would maybe stick with it and finish it. But it's of no use if your goal is to work in the industry. If you want to work in the industry, then you also have to fine tune the projects that you come up based on your own curiosity, and then make sure you focus on the right skills. So an example would be that you came up with a machine learning project for segmenting your family photograph, like people in your family photograph, just out of your own sheer curiosity. But then you spend some time evaluating the different companies that are using image segmentation and so on, and what are the tools that they're using. Are they using PyTorch? Are they using more of TensorFlow? Are they using Python, C++? What are the different tools, frameworks, programming languages that they're using? And then you would update the project. That now the project would be more like, here I want to do a segmentation of people in my family photo, but I'll use TensorFlow and Python for that, because that would also make me employable based on this project. So this would be it. And the idea is that you would be getting simulated job experience, which means that you would be doing projects similar to the ones that are used in the industry. Of course, they cannot be totally exactly the same, but they could be very similar, and you can learn the tools, and that would make you employable. So the right job oriented skills. And then after that, we would be focusing on domain driven exploration. So you'd be getting an overview of several subdomains of robotics, and I've been wanting to make a video for this, like a comprehensive overview of several subdomains, but I'll do it in the future as well. And you could use that as reference to identify several domains, and then you would be selecting 3 specific domains that you find most interesting based on just the applications that are in that domain, and just what interests you based on what's going on in the industry. And then you would just choose these 3 domains, and then you would take up simple projects in these domains. And then after doing these projects, you would spend some time finding your niche, evaluating your own interest, evaluating the topics and projects that you did, exploring the job opportunities, and then fixing your niche, and then spending some time also identifying whether you want to work in industry or academia very early on in your learning journey, so that you focus on the right things. Because for academia, you would probably want to focus also on research and reading research papers. Publications are the most important thing, as you know. And if you want to work on as an engineer, you would want to focus on learning the right tools, the skill set, and essentially programming. You should be really good at programming and software development. And of course also identifying your own strengths and weaknesses, and which area you would be most suited to. And of course all of this might sound a bit vague, but we'll cover a case study at the end of it, and which will connect everything together. And there will be activities as well, which I have not covered in this session. And then you would validate your niche based on the expected salary, expected work location where you want to work, the job opportunities, and your own interests. So you'd validate whether the niche that you chose, is it something that is worth it? Is it worth spending so much time and effort actually mastering this very specific subdomain? Because you could take up something as niche as deep reinforcement learning, but then you should realize that there are not many jobs in the industry for that. If you want to work in research, then that is probably something that you could do deep research in, but for industry it is not used that often. So that would be one example. And then you would build the project, starting with planning the project, and then that would consist of brainstorming, finding the dependencies that you require for this programming project, identifying what is the necessary theory that you would need. And that is also one of the core ideas that I talk about, that you don't need to learn all the theory. So you would be deciding what are the theoretical concepts you need to learn, and only focus on that. Only focus on the theoretical concepts that are needed to solve this particular project that you came up on your own, or from domain driven exploration, or from the progressive mastery stage. So it would be 80% practice, 20% theory, and the projects would be structured in such a way that each project is broken down into activities. Like the one project that I conducted in one of our previous meetups about face blur, and you could if you break it down into activities, that would be essentially very easy for you to navigate the project. And then after that, progressive mastery, and you decide the projects in the chosen field. Start with the easiest project, increase the difficulty, and then spend more and more time, as much as you can, on mastering this specific niche. You build a portfolio, you clean the code, organize the projects that you built so far, update the documentation, make it really neat and structured. You update the tools and the skills that you learned for each of these. You maybe open source it, you upload it on GitHub, you have you add video demonstrations or pictures of it. You create a really nice portfolio of projects, and then you link it with your own web page, where you would have your CV, portfolio, and your personal profile page with all the details. And that would make a really comprehensive, strong profile. I don't see any reason why, if you have a strong portfolio of 10 projects and organized in a systematic way, that you cannot get a job by learning on your own. I think this is extreme. This is very much possible. And even if you are enrolled in a university program, you have to do these things on your own anyway. So if you do the projects on your own, it's very much possible to be a self-taught robotics software or CV or ML engineer. And then of course you would apply for jobs, prepare your CV. You would be making tailored profiles for different jobs. Maybe you want to still consider 2 or 3 different applications of robotics, or different types of companies that you would consider. You would prepare for interviews, and interviews would be consisting of your technical skill set, the theoretical topics in robotics and AI. You'd be learning to explain your projects. You'd be doing some research about the company and how those can be linked to the projects that you do, and how to present well. And this would require maybe a few weeks and so on for this. And if you have already built great projects, I think this phase should not even take that much time. And then after that, once you get a job, You'd be continuously learning. You'd be developing learning habits, scheduling programming blocks in your calendar so that you at least spend some time learning something new every single week. You'd be wanting to stay up to date with the recent research papers, recent developments, adding projects to your personal curriculum, um, and just trying out new projects again and again, trying out different domains and so on. And scheduling things on your calendar, doing deep work sessions, because for programming, you would sometimes need maybe 2 to 3 hours to focus on a problem, and that would be more efficient rather than taking up 20-minute sessions with Pomodoro. Of course, you can consider this yourself based on your way of learning. But for programming, it requires deep focused sessions as well. And scheduling things on your calendar would also make you accountable if you stick with it, and cultivating habits that would make you learn, that would keep you learn, that would allow you to keep learning throughout. So again, learning new concepts, finding the right resources and so on. And also you could reverse engineer existing projects on GitHub, and I'd be making separate content on this throughout the next year, and how you can use existing projects to learn on your own, and understand basically how the other people started. Because you could take up some simpler repositories that exist on GitHub. You could start with seeing what was their first commit, how did they start doing it, what are the things that they started updating, and then based on just doing that and replicating that on your own, you'd be able to learn things. And this is kind of similar to the tutorials that you see. And the best way to follow tutorials is if you start doing the projects on your own and then refer to the tutorial only as a solution and then compare it. That would give you most learning overall. And then contributing to open source projects and so on. So this is something you can then focus on end of 2023, once you have already gotten a job and you're now continuing to learn, reading research papers, and then you can explore whether you want to still go into continue in industry, or you want to go in research. Yeah, this is going to go on forever. Okay, so that's a lot already. Let's pause a bit, and then I'll talk about the plan, systematic weekly plan, where I'll connect all of these things together, and then the case study. So any questions, anything is unclear so far, or is everything clear?
Yep, I guess pretty much everything is clear. It was like just an overview, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So I can just continue. So the overall picture looks like this. So first you'd spend just some time cultivating your mindset, and then curiosity driven exploration, domain driven exploration, progressive mastery, planning the projects, building the project, building the portfolio, applying for jobs, and then continuing your learning journey basically. So these would be the overall modules of the all the modules of the roadmap. So how would you structure this now? Because this is maybe complicating it further, and I want to simplify it and not complicate it further. So the way that I can simplify it is by making a systematic weekly plan for each of these modules. So the first month would be mindset cultivation. 1 week would be identifying your why, and of course this is just one possibility. You can use this template and then update it. Maybe identifying your why, you just need maybe a couple of hours one day, and then you could do this also in the same week and so on. But to keep it realistic and possible, maybe you have other things going on, and so you could spend only a few hours a week. And so you would identify your why, you would do your activity for this week, you would address your limiting beliefs, you would identify your learning goals, you would find an accountability partners, and these are very small activities that you could just get done, and the first month would be to just cultivate your mindset. And then in February you would be doing a self assessment, first of all, identifying what are the things that you lack, how good are your mathematics skills, programming, um, what are the tools that you need to learn, and so on. And then you would take certain foundation courses, or these could be projects, these could be Udemy courses, these could be a lot of different things like tutorials and so on, and just to basically fill in the gaps. And then 2 more weeks then to build an even stronger foundation by learning necessary tools like Git. And I talk about why everyone should learn Git before you start doing a project, so that you from the very beginning you are able to learn what it is like to work in the industry, because every company uses Git or some other version control system. So learning this tool, learning a bit of software testing, and if you have an accountability group, maybe also some Scrum, and managing the project so that you meet up on a regular basis, and then have tickets or tokens that you update, have issues for the projects, and are approaching it in a systematic way. So the whole idea, as I mentioned, is to give you a whole simulated work experience that you could use on your own, to gain expertise that would make you employable. And then again, just I'll quickly go through the whole plan, because most of the things I've already covered now. So you would leverage your curiosity, you would do the curiosity driven exercise, you would find the skill set that is used in the industry, you would update the project list such that you cover the skill set and link it the projects that you came up with based on your own curiosity. So you would do one small project, and then another project. So this is, maybe it's slightly harder, and then you give 2 weeks, and then the other project is slightly even more harder, then you would give it 3 weeks. And then in week 3 of May you would get an overview of different domains. I think 1 week is more than enough to get an overview of different applications and so on. This is nothing too technical here. And then after that you would just do one very simple project. Project 1, and then another small project in a different subdomain in the first and second week of June, and then another 2 weeks for the next project. Basically, I think this would be also 3. Yeah, so you do 3 small projects and get an overview of different subdomains, and of course maybe for some project you need 1 week and so on. It depends on the project, so that's why this is very much adaptable based on the things that you come up with. And then you would be finding your niche, you would be evaluating your interests, you would be spending some time whether you want to go on for industry or academia, and validating your niche. So I've maybe given too much time for this, but I think it is extremely important to be very clear on your niche, because you would be then spending a lot of time working on that, doing lots and lots of different projects. So maybe you don't need 4 weeks, maybe you could take 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but this is one possible way of structuring it. And then after that you would be taking up more and more projects. So one simple project for 2 weeks, and then another simple projects, and then projects of slightly increasing difficulty. So the last one I've given 4 weeks for this, so maybe this would be the hardest project to do. And then after that you'd organize your projects, build your portfolio, web page, apply for jobs, prepare for interviews. So this is so you see that already mid of September you are able to finish all the projects. And then after that you'd just be applying for jobs, organizing the projects, and things like that. And after that, after preparing for interviews, after you have your job, or even if you don't have your job, you could continue applying and then developing your skills in all of the different ways that I mentioned. Okay, let's take a case study of George from India, who is 24 years old, and this is of course a hypothetical person that I have taken. His BTech is, let's say, in mechanical engineering. He's interested in robotics and wants to become a self-taught robotics software engineer in mobile robotics domain. So very hypothetical problem, but maybe you could relate with it. So he would start with mindset cultivation, identifying his why. So he spent some time, and then
I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, what's the basically the mobile robotics?
so mobile robots is basically uh, ground wheeled robots, and related to the realm of autonomous driving and things like that. And also, for example, Roomba could be one mobile robot.
Oh,
So
okay.
in that domain, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then he would start with first identifying his why. So, and of course, he would be updating this also based on the activity. So, the final core reasons that this person came up with is that he is genuinely interested in building autonomous agents, and he believes that AI will impact the world for better by offering high quality jobs rather than offering more mundane jobs that we have. And then it would and then also he enjoys building interdisciplinary projects because he has done that in the past. So these are the core reasons that George has identified for himself, and then he spends some time also identifying his limiting beliefs. He George, because he wants to learn robotics on his own, he believes that companies do not hire people without a degree. He would spend some time really questioning it. Is it really true? Because you could find several examples on LinkedIn, on YouTube, everywhere basically, that people are able to get jobs by taking up online courses or learning things on your own and just getting the right opportunity at the right time. So it is not really a good excuse that you could say that companies do not hire without a degree. It's very much it's a good possibility that you would be able to get a job without a degree if you have the right skills and the projects. And that programming is hard. This is another limiting belief. One common thing that people say is that, is it possible uh, to learn to become a machine learning engineer without learning programming? So this is of course not really possible, because if you want to be in machine learning or computer vision, that you have to learn programming. So addressing these kinds of ideas and just failures in mindset that you should address early on. So one problem could be that, so George is 24 years old and he thinks maybe it's too late to switch fields now. He's in mechanical engineering, and this is also one of the common limiting belief, and that he does not have enough time to learn because he's currently also studying full time. So then George identifies his goals. So he has two specific goals. He wants to identify his niche. He thinks that he wants to learn mobile robots, but he's not absolutely sure. So he wants to be specifically sure about his niche, and he wants to work as a robotics software engineer in his own country by 2024. So this is his goal that he sets. And then he finds an accountability partner on Discord, again totally random, David from Spain. And then he sees that David is also interested in learning mobile robots, and then and wants to work as a robotics engineer by 2025, and so they could start learning on their own. So George does some self assessment. He realizes that because he's already enrolled in university, his mathematics is pretty strong. He says that he is 4 out of 5 in mathematics and probably doesn't need much mathematical foundation, but he doesn't know any ROS. He has never worked with Ubuntu, and he has zero programming skills. He's a mechanical. He's currently studying mechanical engineering, so has a mechanical engineering background. So foundational courses could look like taking a Python course from Udemy, taking a ROS prep course, and you all know there's so many resources, and you could just take one good resource to just fill in the gaps in knowledge. So getting familiar with Ubuntu and other Udemy. So here I've taken Udemy as an example in all the cases, but it doesn't really matter. So this is for this particular hypothetical case study that I've taken. So then George goes about learning the tools. He installs Ubuntu, sets up IDE, not DIE. Sorry again. And he watches some Git tutorial, and in a couple of hours he's able to learn the basic tools that are required for Git. He takes a course on Scrum because he's working with David, his accountability partner as well. So he would need some sort of a system. Then he starts building the projects. So he does the curiosity exercise, and he is really curious about Visual Slam, sensor fusion for autonomous driving, and indoor mobile robot navigation for cleaning. So these are just things that he came up with. So the activity looked like he came up with 50 different projects or 20 to 30 different projects, and then he started filtering based on his interests and the ones that are practical to do. So these are the projects that he chose based on a comprehensive activity that he did. He looked for companies online. He identified the different jobs that are there, different job openings that are there, and he saw that ROS is required almost everywhere for similar kinds of projects that he came up with. C++ is required, and also Python. Stereo camera, working with stereo camera was a requirement for navigation. Visual Slam, TensorFlow, Mask RCNN, or UNAT. Actually, I had more projects and I removed those, so I think let's keep it simple. And for this particular case, since these are all sort of mobile robots and navigation projects, so he identified that C++ is more important than Python. This is what the companies use, and then he updates it. So previously he had no idea which programming language to use, which tools to use, but he updates it now that he would do the same projects, but he would use ROS and C++, and he would stick with that because those are the ones that are used in the industry. And he updated his project list, and he does the project. He does the project by structuring it into several activities. I've not covered it in this session today, but you could watch the previous meetup session or some of my recent videos where I talk about how to plan your robotics or CV or ML projects, and there I've talked about breaking down projects into simpler activities and learning the concepts along the way. So this would take more time to cover, so I've not covered it here. And then he sees, okay, I'm interested in this, but this is very limited. This is based on a very limited knowledge of his. He doesn't know different other domains in robotics. He hasn't tried machine learning and so on. So he wants to try other specific domains, and he would choose 3 specific domains and one simple mini project in this. So he sees that there are 3 specific subdomains that he would be interested in: machine learning, computer vision, and robotic navigation, based on also his curiosity. So he takes up one simple project in each of these. So character recognition using TensorFlow, path planning using MoveIt and ROS, very simple projects, face blur using Python. So all of these things he chose to do. So 3 more projects. So in total now he has 6 projects. And then he would spend time identifying his niche. He did the activity, and I'd make separate videos for the activities or an entire course, depending on if it is really something that is required, and we'll talk about this later. So he identified his niche based on several projects that he did, and the activities that he did, that he wants to work for computer vision for mobile robots, because mobile robots is something he's interested in. But based on the exploration, he also decided that computer vision is something he wants to learn as well. So then he would be taking up progressively increasing more difficult projects, basically. So sensor fusion for autonomous driving in C++ and ROS, drone navigation, mapping the environment. So I've just randomly put these projects before today's session. But the idea is, so I would also maybe prepare a list of projects of increasing difficulty, or link up some resources. Like I have made one video on the top 5 YouTube channels that you could use to find computer vision projects, so something like that. And you could use this to find and decide for yourself what are the projects that you would do. And as you can see, all these projects are now in similar directions, so C++ and ROS and computer vision, stuff like that. Then he would build a portfolio of projects. So he has these 3 projects that he came up with based on his curiosity. He has these 3 more projects based on domain exploration, and 4 more projects based on progressive mastery. So at the end of this whole roadmap, the whole thing, he has a portfolio of 10 specific projects. Of course, the 6 projects would be slightly smaller, and these would be more advanced projects, but that is how it should be. Then he applies for jobs, companies that works on mobile that work with mobile robots, drones, autonomous driving, continues to learn, follows recent developments, reads research papers, builds projects, and explores other domains. And that is how George would be able to learn and become a professional from an absolute beginner. So that is about the roadmap. Now I'm very curious to address any specific questions, or does it make sense or not at all? Because I have no idea if this was useful or not. This is just totally coming from my own head. All right, so let's hear from you one by one.
By the way, will we get the presentation PDF? Can we?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's
I'll share.
useful actually.
I'll share the presentation. Yeah. So overall, first of all, any questions regarding it? I think it was pretty straightforward, the whole thing. But if you have any questions regarding this,
Mm, yeah, we'll be making projects using any like I have heard about Arduino and Raspberry Pi. What will be uh, the process of building a project like that?
yeah. So that's a good question. So 2 things. So of course, one thing is that the projects that you define uh, would be based on your own interests and things like that. And of course, Raspberry Pi is a good option that you could consider, and you would maybe not come up with a Raspberry Pi project on your own, but you would come up with a project based on domain exploration, computer vision project, and so on. Um, this is one thing. And the other thing is that Arduino is, I would not recommend spending too much time learning Arduino, because Arduino is more for hobby projects, right? And of course, I did a little bit of Arduino also when I was doing my bachelor's in India. But that is literally of no use. That is just for like hobby projects of home automation or small robotics projects that you would want to build. And it would be a good project for school students, or if you want to just see if how build some like simple projects in robotics. But Raspberry Pi, of course, you could uh, do that, and you don't even need to work on Raspberry Pi uh, or Arduino for this. You could just focus on. You could just build. You could just use computer vision projects directly on your system, because most of the projects that you would be building based on this framework would be simpler. And there's this possibility, of course, to take up Raspberry Pi based projects, but that would be entirely up to you.
Okay, thanks for sharing about it. Have you worked in any startup related to robotics?
Yeah, I worked in a few startups related to robotics.
Yeah, I want to know what's the environment there and how they work together. Because like I have no idea about how robotics engineer and what would be they developing and how they're developing the product and what's like going on in the whole team. What the overview? Can you give an idea of what's because I'm interested in maybe in doing or at least working in a startup in this field basically. So I want to know like how the whole system works there.
Yeah, so um, So with a startup, of course, robotics is interdisciplinary, and there are different fields that are going on, that would be there in a startup. So there will be a mechanical team, mechanical engineering team, that would be specifically responsible for production related activities. So if it's a robotic manipulator arm, deploying that in the industry, in the plant, in the factory, and so on. And then there would be one mechanical design team. So like several aspects of mechanical, there can be smaller teams depending on the size of the company. So one would be the mechanical team, one would be the electronics team, and one would be the computer science, or let's say the a general software team. And within that, there could be an AI team. So let's just, for simplicity, let us just focus on four specific teams. So let's keep it on general software development, mechanical, electronics, and then AI specific software development, right? So it depends on the product. So the startups that I worked in, they were both robotic manipulation based. So they were using robot manipulator arms for solving problems in the industry. So one was pick and place, and one was manipulation of deformable objects, right? And so for example, the mechanical team, and there could be application engineer also in mechanical team, that would be responsible for making sure that the robotic system is deployed properly, and that the cameras and things like that, the hardware side of things, is functioning properly. And then the electronics is responsible for making sure the controllers and processors and stuff like that works well. And then the software team is responsible for making maybe the web interface and so on, things like that. And then the AI part is specifically, so one specific case is if it is robotic manipulation for bin picking, then the software would be the AI person would be focusing on making a deep learning pipeline and integrating it with the robotic system. So that's why you would be working closely with all different types of teams. So if you are working in AI, but if you're working in deep learning, and you have to of course also deal closely with the mechanical side of robotic manipulation, and making sure that the system that you develop is actually deployable. So you would have to make the system such that deployment is taken into consideration, and also integration in the actual system. And you would be wanting your algorithm to be integrated in the existing software framework that is being used. So that is why it is important to make sure you have a basic broad understanding of all the different areas. And of course your primary focus would then be on deep learning, for example.
Yeah, basically the T-shaped
The
learning.
T-shaped, exactly. And in startups, the good part is you can get to be more involved because the teams are more small. So even if you're working in deep learning, you will get a lot of understanding of robotics and hardware, in electronics and software development in general as well, because maybe sometimes you would want to do things in other domains as well, because there are less people. So this way it's very interdisciplinary to work in a robotic startup. So yeah, and
Yeah,
startups
yes, and
generally also prefer that if you have some interdisciplinary knowledge there.
yeah, that makes sense. And what's the like? I think there'll be more advanced technologies used in the defense companies who are making robotics stuff in the defense field, like uh, the any aerospace, like flying things. I don't know how to term define it. Like drones, yeah, drones and many other stuff. So like the things are pretty much the same, or are there any advanced studies?
So what's your question specifically? Like what are the things that are used in defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have not worked in defense, so I can't specifically tell that. But of course, drones are being used, and then Mobile robots are something that are used everywhere. So I would say mobile robots and drones. And basically, it depends, and it depends whether it's a research project or it's actually going to be deployable. So it depends on a lot of things. But drones is something that I've definitely seen being used a lot in defense. Um, and of course, I think mobile robots are also major, and it could also be, depending on the use case, mobile manipulation platform. So mobile robot with also manipulator arm attached on it. But yeah, I think you'd be able to find it on the official websites of the different defense organizations. So I would recommend you search that.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So, any questions regarding the framework, or any like you could share just also thoughts and criticisms about this overall structure? Does it make sense or not? And yeah, I'm curious to know. So, Krish,
Hi.
sorry, who was saying?
Hi. Um I got just two questions. One pretty much on the
Hello.
framework.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the framework you've definitely shared a lot on exactly the different kind of tools that is expected of us to pretty much know of, and then after choosing a particular subdomain, we have to master it, particularly with ROS. I just wanted to know pretty much because I have a very big interest in mobile robots.
Mhm.
ROS is completely new to me, and I was pretty much the internet, even though there's like a whole lot of resources, is very
Mhm.
difficult for me to actually like stick to find a particular thing that I can focus on solely. So this
Okay.
roadmap is good. But the tools, when you mention ROS, I just want to know, um, is there a specific kind of ROS that we can be able to subscribe to, or is there like different platforms that actually has a like ROS embedded into it, like Weebots or something along those lines?
Yeah, so VBots is, I think, a different framework, and ROS is a different framework. So I would recommend that you focus on ROS because ROS is more, it's more sophisticated first of all, and then it's also more used, right? And ROS is universal, almost universal now. And for resources, I would say ROS Construct. I think maybe you've probably heard of it. So ROS Construct is a good resource, and there are lots of free tutorials on YouTube that you can find, and you could also refer to some books on ROS. There's one called Programming Robots by Ross or something like that. So, or there's one that is more project-based learning ROS, and ROS you should of course be learning in a project-based way, and that is by Lentin Joseph. I think we also have in our Discord server in one of the channels. I have to still see where it is, but in one of the channels it would be there. But just search like Lentin Joseph Ross project books. You'd be able to find the PDF or purchase it, and that would be a good way. And also ROS construct tutorials. Actually, even ROS construct tutorials would be good enough. So the idea is that you want to do a little prep course just to get familiar with ROS, but most of the ROS that
Hmm.
you would be learning is, for example, if you take up this project, then you would be googling it, and then you would be learning concepts along the way. So that is the idea.
Um, okay,
Hmm.
perfect. Thank you. And for my second question, back to the frameworks, particularly with subdomains. Um, I just wanted to know if there are other in within those subdomains. Again, let me take the example of my interest in mobile robots. And I wanted to like go into like research, like finding like pretty much trying to find exactly what can be the problem or the hypothesis of it. Um, in doing that subdomain, are there like any extra resources that I can be able to find here on Discord, like different blogs or different websites that actually have real world or real life use cases where I can be able to study, learn, and then actually find a problem within it that I can be able to research it?
So you want to focus on research. So where are you based currently? And I want to know what is your background? Are you studying? Are you working?
Right. I'm based in South Africa. I pretty much, yeah, I can pretty much say that I pretty much finished with my honors degree in information and communications technology, particularly majoring in data analytics and machine learning,
Okay.
as well as IoT architecture.
Okay. So you have a programming background, and you want to learn robotics, and you want to specifically go in research, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the most
and
part, yes.
for mobile robots, yeah. Okay, so for research, so do you want to go for a PhD, or do you want to do research on your own just for your own interest?
I definitely would like to take. Yeah, I'll definitely go for the PhD path. But my plan is because next year my master's classes are going to be offering up to me. I just wanted to take the year just to really find a problem to really solve it, and my interest in robotics is pretty much a strong one. I don't want to focus too much on IT for the most part, and just focus on applying my programming skills
Hmm.
in the robotics. So, pretty much before I go for my masters and also reaching for my PhD in IT and slash robotics, I just wanted to get immersed into it and also find a problem that I can be able to use as like a good research for my academic career.
Yeah. So I think you can break it down into multiple stages as well. So the first stage, of course, would be to finding the right subtopic in mobile robots. Right. I'm not involved much in research in the mobile robots domain. I'm more in the manipulation and reinforcement learning with regards to research. But for mobile robots, basically, the short answer is you have to skim through lots of research papers, collect ideas, and see which ones you would be most interested in, and try to identify the gaps. And the way that you can do that is by seeing the end of the last section of the research paper, where it talks about the limitations and possibilities
Yeah,
of future work, right?
right.
So once you do that, you'd be able to see, okay, these are open-ended problems with regards to making mobile robots autonomous, and these are the things that you can focus on. Also, you can attend. You could attend conferences and so on, and you could get an overview of fields, like attend also watching lectures on YouTube. I think that would give you a good idea as to identify the gaps. So I think specifically you can break it down into first. So the first step would not be to identify the gap. The first step would be to identify different areas in mobile robots, like different areas on which there is ongoing research. That would be the first step, and the way you do that is by reading the introduction, the abstract, and skimming through the paper just very briefly, maybe a day or two, and then collecting down the ideas, make your own notes. And then once you have your own notes from, let's say, 20, 30 research papers, as much as you can read, then you can identify that these are, let's say, 5 to 10 different areas on which there is active research. And then you would go on searching more, and then you would see the limitations and gaps in this, and then you would filter out, and you can then decide, hey, this is a gap that I'm much interested in, and then you would focus specifically on that. And that is also what one does in a PhD. But of course, this is easier said than done. This takes way more time. Um, so yeah, I think even identifying a research topic is a huge task in itself. So make sure you give enough time, and don't pressurize yourself too much that I have to do it within a month or something. So it
Well,
will be a longer process, but you'll definitely learn.
got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. And yeah, any other specific questions related to the framework?
I would like to know what exactly are the topics or in like in physics and mathematics that one needs to know in order to have a better understanding of robotics as a field. Or maybe I think
Yeah.
it may. Yeah, speak on.
Yeah, so of course, in this presentation, I've given just a very broad overall picture. So specific things that you would need to learn is, of course, for robot kinematics and dynamics, you have to have a strong foundation of matrices, basic matrices, linear algebra, partial derivatives, and so on, these kinds of things. But the reason why I have not covered these in more detail is because I'm expecting that you have some level of engineering background, so you probably already know that. And while doing the self assessment, you'd just be analyzing how good or bad your understanding of partial derivatives and things like that are. And machine learning also, you for that you would require partial derivatives. For robotics, kinematics and dynamics, you would yeah, for eigenvectors, eigenvalues, lots of different mathematical concepts that you would need to know. But if your foundation is good enough, you should not spend too much time on mathematics, because you would learn things along the way while you do projects. So maybe you have no idea about how to you have maybe you have slight understanding about eigenvectors, eigenvalues, and so on, and then you take up a project in computer vision, and then you see that this is how this is being used to solve this particular problem, and so on. So yeah, just focus on the basics. If your basics are clear, don't spend too much time on mathematics or physics. Yeah, of course, for robotic manipulation, mobile robots also, physics would be important, but just general laws of physics from your like 12th and so on, I think if you have that, the rest physics you can grasp along the way. And of course you would need the physics as well, but the idea again is that you would learn the physics of the theta angle that would be required for the movement of the mobile robots, or the trajectory planning and stuff like that, that you would learn along the way. So don't stress too much on the fundamentals. Just make sure that uh, it's not to the level that you don't understand the basic terminology.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I'll also make some this a video on the fundamental topics in more detail at some point.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay. So so far I think aced Joker. I think you're new here, right? Yeah. So could you share your feedback, or maybe a little bit about yourself and what your background is, and uh, what your goals are basically?
Yes, hello. So currently I'm a student. I'm studying in a bachelor degree in mechatronics in Malaysia. So my goal is actually, well, for now it's just to be able to understand the how the robotics works. So having a strong foundation on this robotics, and like things like ROS, actually I still don't really have much understanding about it yet. Yeah, that's all, I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Sounds good. And what do you think about the framework? Do you think this would help you systematize and plan towards your goals, or?
Yeah, for me particularly, this is quite okay for now since I really don't really have a roadmap to study on before like today, I would say. So yeah, I think I could use this as a reference.
Okay, okay. Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And then, Krish, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so honestly, I was a bit busy side by side writing my paper as the deadline is today
Okay,
by
okay, okay.
night.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah,
New
so
Year, okay.
like
You keep
uh,
working till the end, very last moment
no,
of
no,
the
no,
year.
it's not like that, but like I was seeing some slides and I was hearing also like I think the timeline, oh sorry, not the timeline. I think the proposed framework is like really well put up, and I think if we can get some guys like us, like minded, like who are present here and maybe more, to work on this, I think yeah, it will be good for the community also to uh, brush up their skills and then learn also and then apply their skills and then write in their portfolios or their LinkedIn profiles about the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
yeah, thanks for sharing, Krish. So the last one would be arch underscore underscore. We cannot hear you. No, I think he has some issue with his microphone. Okay. Yeah, I think we can wrap up with today's session. I hope it was not too long and boring. I think it was too long, actually, to be honest. But I hope you were able to get at least something from this. And if you have any questions at any point, or if you have some ideas or suggestions, also just reach out to me on Discord itself, and that would be cool. And if everything is clear, then I wish you all a very happy new year and a good time ahead.
To you
Ah,
too.
Arch is writing something. Thank you. Uh, what level of project or difficulty level should be on your profile? Okay. Um, what do you mean? This is a bit vague. Could you expand on it a bit?
By the way, I wanted to know if we can make a GitHub repo or something, or a little website where we can lay out a whole roadmap of robotics for the people who are just curious to know, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like if you know there's a website called like the URL is roadmap.sh, which contains literally the roadmaps of like front end development, back end development, and stuff
Yeah,
like that
there's
in
also
technology.
for yeah there's also for computer vision. I found those roadmaps on GitHub, and I think some of them are pretty good. But the idea is they are mostly like you watch this lecture and then do this little activity and so on. So that is a bit different from this approach, but of course there are some good. Actually, the one by Siraj Rawal, I think he made some good GitHub repository, the roadmap thing. That was also like take up the lecture and then do this assignment and so on. But I think that is also something that you could refer, and at least for project ideas. So yeah, maybe you can check out Siraj Rawal's resource, and yeah, if I find some other resources, I'll share it on Discord. So
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
thanks for
I need to go for now. Thank you
yeah,
for all your
yeah, thank you,
yeah, and
brother.
do thank you. Please share that PDF format.
Yeah, sure. I'll share the PDF and I'll add it in the announcements.
Okay, thank you. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Happy New Year. Bye. So let's address Art's question. What level of project or difficulty level should be on your profile? Like what advanced features should be mentioned for companies to notice? Okay, so this is after you have identified your niche and then you're taking up projects and building a portfolio. So it depends on the company. Actually, there is no general answer for this. So uh, for some company, maybe they require PyTorch skills and mainly Python. And the idea is that if your project is the projects on your portfolio are very similar to the projects that are going on in the companies of your interest, then that increases the likelihood of getting a job there very much. And even if there are no job openings, you could do a voluntary application, and because your profile is so much in alignment, they would a lot of companies consider that as well. So in short, um it depends on the company, and the project need not be very advanced. So addressing the first part of it, what level of project or difficulty level, it need not be that difficult, but if it is aligned and you're using the same tools, I think that's already a good demonstration, because you are showing that you are learning on your own, right? And if you can get an internship in a similar kind of project to gain some experience, that is also a possibility. So yeah, I think that would be my take on this. All right. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. Was a nice discussion with you. Thank you for the questions, and wish you all a very happy new year and have a nice time ahead. And make sure you reach out to me if you follow the roadmap and if you are stuck in any phase of this. All right. Bye.